the weatherman. You know the creator and sustainer of life. You know the one who is the Alpha and the Omega. You have a timeline unlike most people in this city. You know the one who was before and who will come after. And his name is Jesus. So I enjoy coming, seeing you, wondering what you're thinking about. Friendship, thankfulness. So I'm just curious. Did you say good morning to the living God without somebody telling you to? Did you wake up this morning thankful that you had a good sleep, you have a good home, you're with parents or family or in the hostel? Have you learned to talk to God? You're very young. You're just this big. Some of you are that big. But that is something I had to do slowly in my life. I went to a group on Sundays. It was something we did culturally. I got one of these books as a gift when I was in second standard. And the teacher was very nice. She wrote down 10, it was like a poem, 10 places in this book, Randall, you should read. One of them was Psalm 23. I think you all know about the Good Shepherd, that the Lord is my shepherd. There were things like the prayer that you pray every day here, give us this day our daily bread, some of those kind of passages. But I had no idea this was a library. The teacher was very kind, said, here's a book, it's an important book, enjoy it. But it's actually 66 books. In order to appreciate the Bible, you have to see it in its entirety. And so over the time, I had seen pictures of Jesus. Nobody really knew what he looked like. But there's this cultural imagery of who he is and who he was. So I was like that growing up, young, discovering life. And then I went to a basketball camp when I was in junior high. Junior high over there where I'm from is like 7th and 8th standard. And I loved basketball. I loved team sports. I liked offense, I liked defense, I liked being a part of a group. And we practiced every day. So we went to a camp. Nobody told me that this was a camp by people who loved Jesus. These were all professors and teachers at a college, and we just played basketball. But when we took a break, they would tell us stories. They would tell us stories, some from the Bible, some from their lives. And it was an eye-opening experience for me. I'd heard of one young professor at the time who was our basketball coach. He lived on a farm, and there was a field with fences around, with big signs that do not enter. But of course, young children, young adolescents, that is only an invitation. If you say do not, something in your mind said, let's do it. Nobody will know. So he was probably running late, trying to get to school. So he was going to cross that field, young man. He got over the fence, started walking, maybe whistling, singing a song, and then he sensed there was trouble. And here we are in our basketball camp, and our eyes are getting bigger, and now this is an exciting story. And he turned around. In this country, maybe you would see a snake, a cobra slithering towards you. I've heard those stories. But this was bigger than a cobra. This was one of those large four-legged animals you see that are quite tame in this country. It was a huge bull, a male cow, and he had large horns. And that was his field, and he was not happy that that young little teenage boy was in his property. And so he started to charge. Now you see that in bullfighting. But this little boy, what would you do? You see this huge bull coming right at you. Well, he did what I would do. He started running. And he ran. And he ran, and he was getting closer, and there was a tree. And there was a branch. And under normal circumstances, there was no way he could reach that branch. For this morning, or this afternoon, whatever time it was, he jumped and he got that branch. And I imagine there was an angel there, unseen, who probably gave him a little boost, and he was safe. Now, for a teenage boy, that's an exciting story. And I trusted the man telling me the truth. I still say this story today. I repeat it. Because God knows your circumstances. He knows the temptations you will face. And so, we started talking about Paul and Timothy the last time I was standing here. And Paul is encouraging a young man, Timothy, reminding him with these words. He says, "For God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and discipline." You are different, Mount Carmel. When you know the living Jesus Christ, you are different. So that basketball camp, I came away with more of this book. They gave us little tiny, like your songbook, 2 books, the Psalms and Proverbs. And I liked that book. It was in a different kind of English. And it was light. It wasn't heavy. I could put it in my bag, and I used to do a lot of fishing in those days. I loved fishing along a little riverbank. And I would take that book. I wouldn't catch many fish, but I would read that book. I was intrigued by what it says. And I want you to know that God talks to you. I met a man this week. He was very successful in his business, and then he met somebody who knew Jesus. And he was going to challenge that man. He said, "I don't believe in Jesus, but I'm going to prove to that man that Jesus does not exist." So in order to get ready, he said, "I will read his book, the Bible, and I will fight him from his own book." Well, you do that and know this, that you will know Jesus. If you know the Word, you will get to know this man, Jesus. And so it came to pass that he got saved. He came across this passage that Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but through me." And he didn't like that verse. He said, I don't like that one. I'm going to keep reading somewhere else. But that kept him awake at nights. I am the way. He got saved. He was off in Russia. He was talking with communist leaders, leading them to Christ, leading them to this understanding that God speaks to you and me. And so these communists in those days, it was not allowed to have a Bible. They didn't believe. They had made God an outlaw or whatever. And they said, "Prove to us that there is a God. Prove to us." He said, "Because I'm standing here. That's your proof. Because I was once like this, and now I am like that. He has changed my life." Does anybody want your life changed this morning? Is anybody a little bit disappointed what's happening with your vision, your purpose? Talk to God. Then they said, okay, how do you know that Jesus rose from the dead? How do you know that he is alive? And he said, I talked to him this morning. And you can talk to him every morning. He is very much alive. He is very much able to give you direction and purpose in your life at a young age and as you guys are getting ready to move on beyond Mount Carmel. So my hope for you this morning, as God has been gracious and pulled back the rein just so we can stand together, that he watches us. He watches you. He wants you to speak with him. He wants you to read his word. So I had many chances in my life. I still had never committed my life. I had a book. I had a small book, but I had hunger in my heart. I was getting curious. Some people, it's quick. I had to realize that I was a sinner because I was from a good family. I was from a good background. I didn't hurt people. I thought I was just okay. Are you okay? Are you clean before the living God? Do you make mistakes? Do you lie? Do you steal? Do you do all those terrible things? Nah, I'm pretty good. So I was pretty comfortable. So God is gracious, and God says, okay, let's meet Livingston. So I had to get to college. 1 year in college, I lived like anything I wanted to do. But there was an emptiness. There was something that's kind of like me. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. I said, well, who are you? That was my question. Who are you? So, long story short, I met more people, like that man at Bible, the basketball camp, who was saved from this bull. I met other people who had similar experiences, that I was like this, and now I'm like that. Really? I know Jesus. I talked to him this morning. I talk to him every day. And I'm going, who are these people? Are you on planet Earth? Excuse me? But there was something about them because they loved people. They didn't make fun of people. They didn't make people feel uncomfortable about themselves. They were different because they were changed by the love of Jesus Christ. And so they got me back into this book. Tuesday nights, 8 men sitting on the floor in a hostel, opening the Gospel of John, chapter after chapter. Well, you'd think that'd be enough for me, but it wasn't. I liked the adventurous life. I hitchhiked, went to a rock and roll concert. Neil Young rocked out that night and ended up in jail that night. Jail has bars, you know. You can't get out. They put handcuffs on you. And I'm saying, hello, I'm not good. I'm not a bad person. What are you doing? But it turned out I had done something wrong. And they said, just stay here tonight. I was there with 2 other friends who also went to the concert. And that made me think, what am I doing? Now, I don't want you to wait till you're 19 years old in jail to say, what am I doing? I want you to ask yourself while you're at Mount Carmel, who am I, who are you, and what am I doing? And God is gracious. He will meet you here. He met me there. Because the next morning, I don't think I slept that well, a young man in blue jeans and shirt showed up. There was 30 of us, again, sitting on the floor, cement floor. And it was a Sunday morning, and he came every Sunday, and he opened the same book, and he talked to us about how God loved us. But God was a gentleman, and he was not going to invade our lives. He was waiting for an invitation for us to open the door and let him in. And I had to make an active step of faith to say, yes, come. And I was thankful for that man. I actually had a few tears in my eyes. He said, have you ever done this? Have you ever received Jesus Christ? And I said, no. Having grown up in the culture, I had never met him individually, personally. So I was getting close. So I got out of jail. Friends from college came over. He put down some money and got us home and said, what are you doing? What did you do? I go back to my hostel the next week, and it's Tuesday night. We're back on the floor again, 8 of us, back to the Gospel of John, and it was then that I knew I had to make a decision. Because in the jail, he said, you can't have one foot on this side of the fence where the bull is, and you can't have one side on the fence where there's no bull. You can't sit on the fence. Make a decision. Now that's tricky, because I like the fence. Because what if I do that? What if? Because I don't know what will happen. He didn't tell me, well, in 30 years you'll be standing in front of a beautiful group of Indian and international students in New Delhi, India. He didn't tell me that. He did tell me, though, that I would have life everlasting, that my mind would be cleansed, that guilt and shame for all the things that I have done would be clean, because Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead for me. And so I said, I'm going to do that. I'm in. So alone in my room after that study, in my quiet place, I asked him, I said, I am sorry. Please come into my life. And it's never been the same since. So I would like you to experience something like that by meeting Jesus Christ. You can do that here. You can do that anytime. You can do that alone. But he wants you to know him. And I want you to know him, because you will have life everlasting, starting now and into the future. So have a great day. Thank you, God, for no rain, that we could talk together right now. Now I imagine it's going to start raining, so get ready. Be blessed. Have a great day, Mount Carmel. Thank you.